Blessings, blessings, and grand risings, everyone. Welcome to Miss Grace, cooking in the kitchen, cooking the politics in the kitchen 3 days a week, where we go over political, social issues from a non-biased perspective. Today, we're a little bit early because we have to finish off where we left off yesterday. And if you don't know, please check it out. We were talking about what was going on with Trump kidnapping Maduro, as well as what was happening with him in court. And we were at the point where we were about to talk about what the people were feeling according to TikTok. So we have a few things to go over because since last night, or 24, let's say 48 hours ago, Trump has touched the ground. They have been bombing Venezuela land. We're going to hit that. We're going to listen to what the U.S. ambassador had to say when they had to face the embassy. Okay, we're going to look at that clip, and we're going to go into a few others. We're going to figure out what France is talking about, a little economic look of it. We're just going to go around and just get a comprehensive look. I asked you guys to get in the audience, put a little respect on each other's name, and let's just sit back, relax, and see what we make of this today, because it's still getting a little hectic, and it looks like Trump and Russia war issues are escalating. Let's watch this real quick.
You're watching the same story on repeat. Special forces descending from the sky, a Latin American president in handcuffs,
Blessings and grand risings, everyone.
tactical precision
Good morning,
and
Holly
strategic
Thurber.
brilliance. They want you focused on the spectacle, on the daring raid, on the military success, because if you're watching the helicopters, you're not watching the balance sheet. This wasn't regime change for democracy. This wasn't about human rights violations or drug cartels. This was a debt collection operation with gunships. There's an old rule in geopolitics that everyone pretends doesn't exist. You cannot sanction the countries that control your vital resources, not forever, not without consequences. For 23 years, the United States tried to defy this rule. They sanctioned Venezuela. They froze assets. They recognized parallel governments. They funded opposition movements. They did everything except the one thing they just did. Until this week, when all of that collapsed in the most revealing way possible. On December 28th, Nicolas.
Now, this is daily news from Great Britain. This is a TikTok page. I do want to confirm what he's saying because, as we mentioned, my thing is moving. Excuse me, y'all. As we mentioned many times, that this like a narco drug operation because the narrative has swiftly changed. As of January 6th, this was yesterday at 7 p.m., according to CNBC, Trump says Venezuela to give up 50 million barrels of oil to the United States. Donald Trump said in an interim authority of Venezuela, he would turn over 30 million to 50 million barrels of oil to the United States. This is Trump saying he's going to do this, okay? Trump says that the oil will be sold at market price. He already has a whole plan. The money will be controlled by me, this is Trump, to ensure that it is used beneficial to the people of Venezuela in the United States. U.S. crude futures fell 1.3%. This is $56 per barrel after this announcement. Why would it fall after this announcement? Because other nations who have oil reserves, they feel some type of way. But let's just finish listening to this gentleman, because you know we like to get the news from all over.
Maduro signed energy agreements with China worth $18 billion. 2 days later, Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor, quietly requested a meeting with Venezuelan officials in Panama, not to threaten, not to impose conditions, to negotiate access to oil that Washington has spent 2 decades trying to destroy. What you're witnessing is not diplomacy, it's capitulation that got interrupted by helicopters, and it reveals something critical. When an empire loses control over resources, it once considered guaranteed, the collapse doesn't arrive gradually, it arrives in cascade. Let me show you the numbers that explain why this happened now, why this week, why this operation couldn't wait. Venezuela controls the largest certified oil reserves on the planet, 303.8 billion barrels. Iran, its strategic ally, controls another 208.6 billion. Whoa. Together, they represent 32% of global proven reserves, and both have just formally exited the financial system controlled by Washington. This is not theory. This week marks the breaking point where the architecture that sustained American hegemony for 80 years began its irreversible disintegration.
Let's go. So you already know he's getting it in. I'm going to leave his link because he has a great YouTube channel and a TikTok channel. But that's what many of us was thinking. That's why I kept saying, what is going on with America? Are we in that much debt? Something's going on with our oil. And this seems like a war for oil because he already said from the beginning that what we're going to do, get 50 million barrels of oil. He didn't say we're going to go catch the narco terrorists and go to their organization, shut down whatever plants that has fentanyl, correction, cocoa powder now. He's not saying anything of the above. So this is a proven factor that the people who had the 10 hats on and saying, hey, we seeing a pattern here, something is not right, it seems to be coming alive. Now, let's listen to what Sky News has to say. These are TikToks that we're showing you of some of the Venezuelan people. Let's watch this together, guys.
En la manera en que ha actuado los Estados Unidos y haber penetrado pues, el territorio venezolano.
So it says the U.S. airstrike that led to the capture of the President Maduro destroyed the residential building. According to local reports, the strike left one person dead and another injured. Here we go.
Fue fuerte.
The sound was deafening. Bombs fell
En las montañas
on the mountains near Fort Tuna.
el Fuerte Tiuna. Y bueno, fue
It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
horrible.
I saw the helicopters.
So this was a residential building. Don't this look like the building a little bit like the South Side, but bigger? Look, I said that they were probably practicing on us, but let's just watch because everybody thinks these other countries don't look like America, like they don't have no buildings, no infrastructure, and these are these people land. So this was a residential building that they did this.
I saw the explosion, the fire going to the sky, disorder, the people run, the people take their cars and go to everywhere. And the people feel scared. We haven't electricity, power, telephone signal, internet. We are in a blackout.
All right, so this
no
is.
les interesa ni la libertad ni la democracia. Les interesa.
So it looks like the Venezuelans are condemning the attack. The U.S. is not interested in freedom or democracy.
Nuestro petróleo, le interesa nuestros recursos naturales.
Venezuelans gathered in the Casasa to express their solidarity with the president Nicolas Maduro. So you remember that American news, I didn't show you yesterday, but if you go look around, they're interpreting this like these people are celebrating that he's gone, things like that. But there is two sides to this story. What the United States done was criminal. Okay, so let's keep it moving. Thank you for being here today. Now, this is the opposition. This is a younger person from Venezuela, and she had something to say as well, and I think it's important. Let's let her talk.
Right now,
because
I generally think if you are an educated person, you should have an opinion on whatever the fuck you want to have an opinion on. However, as a Venezuelan, now I am saying if you don't know anything about the Venezuelan situation, apart from what you've seen in the last 48 hours, then you better shut up. Why? Because you have
I'm with you, sis. That's why we sitting here shutting up and listening to everything before we make a decision on what's our position. Go ahead, girl.
No idea what everybody has endured in these last 30 years at minimum. Nobody's saying Trump is our hero. Nobody's saying we're so happy for Trump. What we're saying is we're happy Maduro is out. This is the beginning for us. Of course, we're all scared. Of course, we're all in fear. Of course, we're all confused. We have no idea what lies ahead. But we've also been in that same exact situation for the last 35 years. And at least what we do know now is that this is the beginning to a government being overthrown, a government that's forced us illegally to keep the country in the same situation that it had. So, yeah, you obviously have no idea what that's like. And I've been seeing comments of people from the UK, where I'm from right now, where I'm from. This is where I'm from now. It's my home. And from the US, being like, they have no right.
She sound like American. I'm telling you, we are all human. She had me a little bugging. I was laughing, but I want to hear her truth.
Right to enter, yeah, of course we have no, of course they had no right, but neither did our government. Our own government had no right to do everything. And at the very least, the US will be humane. It will be humane.
What?
It will be humane.
Girl, you haven't been seeing what's been going on around here, okay? When you talk about humane, what? They was beating on our asses before they went over there. Excuse me. I just had to let her know because she said that they will be humane. Y'all let me know. Has ICE had, I think the National Guard has been humane to us. But, the Border Patrol, have they been humane to us? We have numerous Crips. But, girl, gave me post-traumatic stress when you said that. No, I don't think so.
The bare minimum, right? But you don't even know what that's like. You don't even know what it's like to not have that bare minimum. It's something that we know what it's like. We haven't had that bare minimum for 30 years. So even if the US were to keep the fucking Venezuelan people under their hand for years, at least they get a paycheck and they get health. They get health beneficiaries.
Wow. So y'all hear what I'm hearing? It sounds like the Venezuelans and possibly Maduro sold out their own country at this point because I don't know. Maduro is the cause of them being like this. So he's probably like 30 years. I could just get paid off or whatever. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. He is in court allegedly. That's not an AI clip, but it looks AI to me. But again, they're so desperate. They're to the point that they like bump it. We'll take the bare minimum. And it's so sad because at the end of the day, they're going to become debt slaves just like us. But let her finish talking because I appreciate her detailed commentary about how she feels.
We don't get that. We don't get anything. We get our students killed and being put in prison for having a protest. So yes, even if it's the bare minimum, out of desperation, we're going to celebrate this small win, at least towards the true liberation we're all praying for. We're not all praying for Trump to obviously stay in our country as the president. That's not what we want. That's not what we want, obviously. Some people are even like, oh, your guys are so...
But you got to take heed that this young lady's in UK too. She's actually says she's in UK. So she seems like she's a national and she's not in Venezuela right this second.
Desperate. This is not a good one. Exactly. We are so desperate. You don't know what that's like. You don't know what it's like to live in that true desperation. So why the fuck?
Come on, baby, suffering.
Commenting.
I know.
Correct.
All right, so we're going to start right there with her, and then I'm going to put her link at the bottom so you can hear more of what she has to say. Shout out to everyone who's in the audience. Again, we just ask to have a little bit of respect for each other and be adults. We're adults here. We're looking at this from a non-biased perspective. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace, and I consider myself a separatist. In the new year, I added a new name, informationalist. Okay, we go from Indian news to Chinese news, Russian news, American news, and we compare and contrast, and we make a decision on what is consistent and what works with our heart, because most of the people who resonate with me is a child of God. Yeshua, hit the like button this morning. But let's look at this because it is escalating. Venezuela's second attack underway. So that's what I said. This young lady, she's talking, but if you listen to what she said, she's in UK. So, but there's people in Venezuela that is physically going through this, and this is who we want to hear from as well, too. So let's listen to what this guy's saying.
Breaking loose in the capital city of Venezuela for a second night now. There are reports of gunfire, explosions, helicopters and airplanes in the air, anti-aircraft weaponry being used. We don't know if this is a U.S. situation or is there a coup attempt against the sitting acting president of the United States, who is the vice president before Maduro was kidnapped.
Miss Rodriguez. Now, y'all remember what we said on the last live. Miss Rodriguez was like, oh, we're going to get Maduro back, and we're going to make sure that everything goes according to plan because we're not giving our sovereignty up. And after that, shortly after that, Trump made his little probably a tweet most likely and said, oh, if you don't listen, if you don't get down, we're going to lay down and things are going to get worse. And that's when it started to actually bombs started just hitting over in that particular area, and that's where we stopped off yesterday. So let's listen.
Here's what it looks like right now.
Jesus. Imagine, guys. I'm being funny, but not. This is literally what we go through in the hood. Like when they used to have shootouts back in the day. Now the way I'm like, dang, she's not even like afraid or things like that. I'm not saying this is a social norm. When things like this become a social norm, literally you'll just roll on the floor. This America, America. My bougie people, my megas who have not been through this, literally, this is like being in the hood. I'm hearing this and I looked out the window and I can remember me being in the projects, not growing up in the project, but that's where I moved to, and gunshots going, and I'm looking like, okay, where we at? Where we at? Do we got to get low? Is this the lifestyle that we want to live in America? But this is the lifestyle that we're imposing on people. Even though some Americans are actually living like this, I'm just keeping it real. But look at what's going on. Look at this. Oh my goodness.
Guys, all hell is breaking loose.
So we had to get a little look of what was going on out there, and it doesn't. That's from someone's living room. This is another shot. Let's see what they're saying here. Because when we watch the news, you already know we're going to get the same clip over and over and over. So heavy gunfire erupts across Qataris. That went by fast. Around 7 p.m. Central. This is 2 nights ago. Imagine walking the street. This looks like New York, guys. Oh, y'all looking at me. Hold on one second. Look at this. I just start chilling. Look at this. Pray for Venezuela. Something is happening. Reports of intense shooting is going on. Look at this. Now you're going to see the people like literally in the street. This is 7:20 p.m. This looks like Manhattan. This looks like downtown Atlanta. And the reason why I'm saying this to you guys, because we have a lot of Trumpsters and people in the audience that are like, yeah, bomb them. I'm just trying to bring humanity back to our stream as well and not just show you content that's going to make you more numb. I'm just being honest. So look at this. This is China and Russia came forward to help Venezuela. And that was one of the things that I got on my reel where the gentleman, our Caucasian brother, was like, oh shit, Trump, you know, fucked up. Let's see what he was talking about.
Venezuela has asked Russia and China for military help against America. Both countries have decided to help Venezuela. They told America that it arrested Venezuela's president illegally and that they will never allow America to take control of Venezuela's oil. China and Russia said that if America does not free the Venezuelan president within a few days, their armies will start actions against America. America arrested Venezuela's president at night while he was sleeping through a secret operation and took him to the United States. Now a case will be started against him there.
All right, so I'm going to get to y'all comments real quick. I'm going to let this play on mute. Y'all watch this. But you said something like they were shooting at their own drone in that video. Please show the proof. Please show the proof. That's not what that video said. I know people like to make their own narrative, but we need some truth here. And if they actually were shooting at their own drone, that means this is definitely more than a psyops. That means that Maduro is working with the United States to pull a psychological operation, not only on us, but his people as well. And his people found out and they're shooting at their own drones. That doesn't even make sense, but we just gonna keep it moving. Here it says the petrodollar, Western hegemon. That's what you said, hegemon theory versus the harmony theory. I'll read up on that. I never heard that in a day of my life, but I'm going to check this out. Shout out to Ahmad. Thank you for being here. It says this is what we were talking about earlier, where this is no longer a fentanyl issue or a cocoa issue. This is an oil issue. Right. He went straight to the oil. We are supposed to believe that it's beneficial for Venezuelans. and Americans when he's doing anything, everything in his power, outside of his power, to make America suffer and other nations. And I'm with you, because that's what it's going to lead to, us suffering. Because again, we are in this not me, nobody could touch me. And I'm telling you, Russia and China ain't nothing to bang with, ain't nothing to play with. But you said that they were shooting at the drones. We're going to show you more clips, because this is horrendous for what these people are going through. The human side of it. This is them on the street looking like Atlanta or New York or Chicago. Armed men seen walking outside Caracas Street. Civilian runs for cover. Aim heavy gunfire. I don't see nobody shooting at the drones. Their own people shooting at the drones. I see people running. So if you have some clips to show proof of that, then just send it to me, because I love to be corrected. I love to learn. It's not a problem. But okay, we showed you some TikTok videos of what was going on. UX expands list. Now this was another retaliation with United States. This is according to AP News here. It's saying U.S. expands list of countries whose citizens must pay up to $15,000 bonds to apply for visas. So again, we're playing the borders game, because when we up the ante, other countries have not been up in the ante, but I think they're up in the ante right now. We're going to get deeper into this $1,500 bond when we go into talking about ICE and immigration, but I just wanted to throw that out there to you according to AP News. But I'm going to tell you how this is actually affecting us, because we're about to be boxed in. Us as American citizens about to be boxed in. These countries are canceling our visa. Another country makes a call to cancel all visas for Americans, okay? And this is according to the streets, okay? And we verified this through other newspaper articles, which, sometimes they just do cookie cutter broadcasts. So after President Trump expanded the travel ban, so this is a retaliation to him, he put in place during his first term in Washington, the White House, to 20 more countries and Palestine authorities last December. At least 3 other nations responded in return to this thing. Excuse me, it was an ad. His ban, and with bans for Americans. On December 26th, I knew it, because Africa is not about to play. Africa already kicked out France. On December 26th, West African nation of Nigeria announced that it was completely and permanently prohibiting the insurance of visas to all U.S. citizens. Hold on one second. I have so many pop-ups on here. That's why I took this off. This is ridiculous. All American citizens indefinitely banning entry to the territory for the nation nationals of the United States. Now, this may not mean something to just people like me and you who don't internationally travel, but I'm going to tell you this. Black people, they kept us out of Africa for a reason, because they have good resources. They have strong materials. We're talking about houses built with stone, marble, all types of stuff. They're things that they did not want you to see. If y'all are young, go look at iSpeed right now. iSpeed is this big content creator that's doing his tour in Africa. I guess he's going to be stuck out there for a while, but he's showing the true side of Africa, and people are melting. Black people are melting, because at the end of the day, there's a lot to gain out of there, a lot of resources. And I say that because our European and French brothers and sisters, oh, they was over there getting that work. And China and Russia. But now, just to give you a heads up, we kind of stuck. So it's not just West African that's doing this. But let's finish read this article. After it was included in the list of countries whose citizens was completely banned from entering the United States last June, the government of Chad similarly announced that it was acting upon principles of respiratory and suspending the grant of visas to U.S. citizens. On January 2026, 39 countries now face either a full travel ban or restrictions on various types of visas for entering the United States. This is on our side. Now, let's keep it moving, because this is another article we bring it to you. And the reason why I'm not showing you it, because of these type of things be popping up as I be reading it. So we're just going to get to it. This is called Travel and Tour World. said basically Barbados joins Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, U.S. Virgin Islands, Aruba, and more in major Caribbean flight disturbance following Venezuela strike. So this is what we were showing you with the young ladies that was out there that was stuck, and it's so bad because Trump made this move and he did not care if we were out there, if American nationals were out there. So these Caribbean islands are being affected as well. And they're going along with the ban because they don't want to have no flights coming in from the United States into their country while this is happening with Venezuela. Okay. So the FAA response to Venezuela crisis, the FAA swiftly imposed emergency airspace restriction due to the sullen military operations in Venezuela. On Monday, January 3rd, 2026, the agency issued a notice of air missiles, NOTAMS, this is the acronym, warning commercial aircraft to avoid airspace surrounding Venezuela and certain parts of the Caribbean. These other countries cannot even afford to lose planes and all types of stuff, especially in the midst of this, because they see we have an indiscriminate president. He's just shooting everything. So this is why these countries are starting to shut down on us. Okay, not only just the ones in South America, but we're talking about the Caribbean islands. Okay, so I'm going to give you more updates on that. With travel bans, they're hitting travel bans on us, and we're allegedly hitting travel bans on them. Now, let's move forward. We're going to watch C-SPAN together real quick. This is a short clip of the U.S. ambassador to the UN nation, okay? Michael Waltz statement at UN Security Council meeting on Venezuela. Let's watch this real quick. Thank you for being here. We're just doing a well-rounded breakdown of what's going on. I don't want to sound biased to you guys. I want to sound humane. That's where I come from. At the end of the day, these people are suffering and we're suffering. They're lying to us about the agenda and why we're going over there. And in the midst of this, guess what, guys? Our cost of living is still going up. In the midst of this, he has gutted primary programs that we need as American citizens. But again, did he replace these programs? Are you asking that, Mega? We need replacements for these programs because guess what? Guess what's coming up, y'all? Tax season. And they want us to file taxes, right? And pay for this shit. Excuse my language. Let's go. Let's watch this.
I now give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Mr. President, thank you for chairing. And I particularly want to thank you, Mr. Freitas, for your briefing. And I'll point out that Mr. Freitas is in exile, having fled the regime. Thank you for your courage and thank you for shedding a light on the true atrocities of the illegitimate Maduro regime. This past weekend, colleagues, the United States successfully carried out a surgical law enforcement operation facilitated by the U.S. military against two indicted fugitives of American justice, narco-terrorist Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores. Colleagues, Nicolas Maduro is responsible for attacks on the people of the United States, for destabilizing the Western Hemisphere, and illegitimately repressing the people of Venezuela.
Such an open-ended sentence. I mean, it's just so vague, but we're going to listen because it's the how for me.
As Secretary Rubio has said, there is no war against Venezuela or its people. We are not occupying a country.
Yes, you are.
This was a law enforcement operation.
I'm making it go a little faster, y'all.
In furtherance of lawful indictments that have existed for decades.
No, you can't go into someone else's country and just go arrest people. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to let him talk, but y'all remember the, what is her name? Yeah, it's right at the tip of my tongue. Where the young lady was the Cabo Six, and they said they couldn't go to Cabo and go get those kids who unalive the young lady. Her name is right at the tip of my tongue. That they didn't have jurisdiction out there, but you have jurisdiction right here to go to Venezuela and go do this and execute a warrant. I mean, is the picking and choosing for me. I had to bring that up. I'll get her name. If y'all know her name, put her in the audience. Again, I was really mad at the FBI for not going to getting those Cabo 6, even though they were in the United States. They still ain't issued a warrant, but we could go all the way to a whole nother country and go get a president.
The United States arrested a narco trafficker who is now going to stand trial in the United States in accordance with the rule of law for the crimes he's committed against our people for 15 years. A similar action was taken in 1989 against Manuel Noriega. He was arrested, indicted, convicted in a court of law, served in prison in the United.
Was Noriega a president? Let's look that up. If anybody can look that up, I don't think he was the president.
States and in Panama.
Hold on.
And the Panamanian people, the American people, are safer for it. And undeniably, the region was more stable. This law enforcement action was directed, consistent with the President of the United States' responsibility as Commander-in-Chief to protect Americans at home and abroad against a fugitive who is directly responsible for narco-terrorism that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans and created destabilizing violence throughout our hemisphere. Nicolas Maduro and his co-defendant, Celia Flores, have been transferred here.
This has Noriega wasn't no president. He was just a military officer and a politician. So I don't know why they compared that to him.
The United States to stand trial for their crimes. Maduro was indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York.
Oh, he was. Hold on, military leader. Hold on, let's correct that. He was. Hold on. It says military leader of Panama. Yeah, he was a leader. Okay, I got to do some more research on him, y'all. It kind of threw me off when he used him as an example.
In a wide-ranging conspiracy to conduct narco-terrorism, to traffic cocaine and other drugs, and conducting international weapons trafficking. The overwhelming evidence of his crimes will be presented openly in U.S. court proceedings. Colleagues, Maduro is not just an indicted drug trafficker. He was an illegitimate so-called president. He was not a head of state.
All right, y'all. I'm going to let y'all finish watch that on your own time. This is what they're saying. This is their argument that he's, again, a narco-terrorist. We've been pursuing him for how many years? He has hurt American citizens, not giving us any true account of how he hurt American citizens, but we're going to figure this out. Now, right here is forces is not the answer. It says force is not the answer. France, UK slams US over Venezuela strikes after Maduro capture. Again, these are our allies. Okay? France mess with us, don't they? Let's watch this together.
On his path to lasting political stability. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Denmark for her statement and now give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, President. I congratulate Somalia on the assumption of the presidency of the Council for the month of January. And I thank our briefers for their remarks.
Make sure these people talk faster.
Colleagues, the Venezuelan people have suffered for years. This Council now meets at a pivotal moment for Venezuela's future. Maduro's actions created extreme levels of poverty, violent repression, and failing basic services. His regime's rule precipitated a displacement crisis affecting the whole region. The United Kingdom has long been clear that Maduro's claim to power was fraudulent. To date, Venezuela's National Electoral Council has failed to publish the full results of the July 2024 presidential elections, and independent domestic and international reports also observed significant irregularities and a lack of transparency.
Oh, don't worry. NATO is kicking us out, y'all. We got an update, boo. We're going to look at that. That's coming up. Update about NATO. Thank you for mentioning that.
A legitimate government that reflects the will of the Venezuelan people. They deserve a government which
Mr. Augusta, thank you for mentioning that.
And delivers a more stable, prosperous future for all Venezuelans. Finally, President, the United Kingdom reaffirms its commitment to international law and the principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. These foundations are essential for maintaining global peace, security, and the rule of law. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom for his statement and now give the floor to the representative of France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, I wish to congratulate you upon your presidency of the Security Council during the month of January.
So we speeding
I also
that
wish
up,
to
y'all.
thank Madam Rosemary DiCarlo for having conveyed to us the information from the Secretary General of the United Nations on the recent developments which have taken place in Venezuela. Mr. President, France has continued to stand in solidarity with the Venezuelan people as they face the crisis that has been plaguing them for far too many years. Specifically, and in particular, since the summer of 2024, on the 20th of July, 2024, the Venezuelan people exercised their right to vote peacefully in order to shape the future of their country. Their right to choose their leaders, nonetheless, has been stripped away from the people by Nicolas Maduro. Must you recall the facts? The electoral process has been was marred by numerous irregularities, and the final counting of votes was marred by a flagrant lack of transparency. In light of the democratic aspirations of the Venezuelan people, Nicolas Maduro has systematically responded with the repression of dissident voices, of members of the opposition, and of civil society, as well as with numerous arbitrary detentions. France
So
has
we can say here that everybody's agreeing that Maduro is some type of criminal, that he's a dictator. Everybody's saying that allegedly the election was rigged. I'm not going to say anything. I think that happens here in America, but I'm going to move forward. But they're all on the same page with that. But again, you're going to hear them reference international law and abiding by it. So let's listen to the rest of what France has to say.
Expressed itself with clarity about the fact that these practices are unacceptable and that respect for human rights must be upheld. Mr. President, the military operation which has led to the capture of Nicolas Maduro runs counter to the principle of peaceful dispute resolution and runs counter to the principle of non-use of force. The proliferation of violations of the Charter of the United Nations and the violations of international law by states vested with responsibility as permanent members of the Security Council chips away at the very foundation of the international order. Contravening the principles of the Charter, including the principle of respect for independence and the territorial integrity of states, undermines the foundation of the United Nations and weakens international peace and security.
Here we go.
France remains faithful and committed to respect for the Charter of the United Nations and of the principle of peaceful dispute resolution. We have an obligation to uphold these principles at all times and in all places.
So what you're hearing is basically France condemning America. Trump is not all the Americans, y'all. Trump move on Venezuela, saying that it was direct disrespect to the Charter of the United Nations. I do apologize, and that is going against the treaty. And basically, he's highlighting that Trump has no respect for the United Nations, and the United Nations is nothing. It's just nothing. Trump is just doing what he's going to do. So his move is not only going against other nations, but is destabilizing the structure of the United Nations and its validity. This is what I'm hearing from this guy.
Respect for these principles is indispensable.
See?
Mr. President, France wishes to reiterate our commitment to respect for the will of the Venezuelan people. The transition which is currently being opened up for Venezuela needs to be peaceful and democratic and carried out in a manner which respects the choice of the Venezuelan people, a sovereign people. This transition must be led by and for the Venezuelans.
Exactly. So I'm going to let you watch the rest of it. This was an 8-minute clip, but I wanted you to hear that particular part where they understand that Maduro is a piece of crap, but they don't have the right because they have made this treaty that we're going to be humane. We're going to come to the table. We're going to talk about it, what's going on with different countries' leaders. Because again, we don't control everything. And I'm going to give this example real quick. If this was okay, that means that Putin doesn't have to worry about bombing Ukraine. He could have just burned his in there and go get Zelensky, just because Zelensky be all over the place, just walking, chilling, dancing, pop locking, asking for money. Why didn't Putin just go in and go take him? Because guess what? He has a little bit more respect for the way that he approach international relationships and understand that Russia is not the only country in the world. I just got to give it to him because I was like, yeah, Russia, he could have went in and got Zelensky plenty of time. He out here pop locking, getting money, doing all types of stuff, all in people's face. He's an easy target. No, he went a normal way, which is that we don't like, and went in and, created war on land, which is we don't like, but that's the typical way. Trump has escalated this to the millionth power. Now we're going to watch this YouTube channel. I watch him periodically. It's Economic Warning. I like this gentleman. We're going to listen to about 5 minutes of this. Why Venezuela is about more than an arrest and what is coming next. And you guys can watch this full 22-minute video. But I like this guy. Let's watch them together, okay?
Conferences are done, but the real story is just beginning, because what happened in Venezuela is part of something bigger. Greenland, the Panama Canal,
Ooh.
Canada.
And that's what we're going to get into, Greenland. He already blew the lid off of the next thing that I wanted to get into because Trump has mentioned Greenland. And I'm like, oh, so we're going to review this. And I want you guys to review this yourself. Go get a map and start looking at the areas he's talking about and why this is deeper than what we perceive. Okay?
Venezuela. These aren't separate conversations. They're connected by one strategic logic that most analysts are missing. This isn't about one man in handcuffs. It's about securing resources, controlling trade routes, and positioning for what comes next. The administration calls it national security. Others call it economic containment.
What? No, I just had to say that you said I guaranteed if the military was capable of seizing Zelensky would have been dead or captured. They can. They can. I mean, how can you think that we can do it because we're just so better and best and biggest? Everybody's human. Everybody has ancestry, lineage to war, survival within their nation. I know that we think we the biggest country in the world, but I have to say this, baby, they're practicing restraint with us. Okay, I truly believe that there is a lot of technology in these other countries, especially China and Russia. They don't even report half the shit to us what they're doing. Okay, just Iran, and they don't report it to United Nations. So imagine what we don't know. That sounds nice and cute, but I really want the audience to be prepared for the real. Okay, yeah, I think they could have got Zelensky a whole lot of times. Okay, and Trump. Man, that scooped Trump old self up real quick.
You call it, the mechanics are the same. Control the supply lines, control the pricing systems, and deny competitors access. Today, I'm going to walk you through the economic logic behind what's unfolding across the Western Hemisphere, not the politics.
Wow. This got me thinking. We're going to watch a few minutes of this. You know this guy got commercials, but he has good commentary.
Not the personalities, but the structural moves that are reshaping energy markets and global positioning. Three things matter right now. Oil reserves and who controls them.
Exactly.
Currency flows and what system prices them. And China's expanding economic footprint in regions the United States considers strategic. Let me show you what's actually happening. South America as an economic battlefield. Here's what most coverage is missing. Venezuela didn't happen in isolation. It's one move in a continental economic contest that's been building for 2 decades. China-Latin America trade hit $518 billion in 2024. That's not a typo.
They're talking about China right here. Okay, and that's what I wanted to mention. China, and when we get into this, because this is when we were supposed to get into it today, China, Russia, oil reserves compared. And I wanted to talk to you guys about the new blockchain system that China has that's literally bypassing all of this fake digital currency, not only making the contract secure with gold-backed money, but making the transactions go through like this and guaranteed. So other countries are getting on to the system that China has set up in itself for buying and trading oil. Secondly, what you see is happening here is that Trump, I was like, damn, we need the oil. We need the oil. What's going on? He wants the transportation canals. He wants these canals. And this is why Russia is going against Ukraine, because they have a canal that's right there by Ukraine. And they feel like when Ukraine was making relations with the United Nations and NATO, that basically they would be sold out and they would control that canal, which will control a lot of Russia's exports. If you don't know kind of the basis of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, it's about that canal and it's about transport. Not only the land actually being owned by Russia at one point. They lost it by some crazy default stupid thing, but that's one aspect. But their transportation, and this is what this is about, is not just oil.
Over $500 billion, and it's growing at roughly 30% annually. 20 years ago, China accounted for less than 2%.
This is China again.
At roughly 30% annually. 20 years ago, China accounted for less than 2% of Latin America's exports.
Wow.
Today, China is South America's largest trading partner. Brazil trades more with China than with the United States. So does Peru. So does Chile. Ecuador just signed a free trade agreement with Beijing in 2024. Nicaragua did the same. 22 out of 33 Latin American and Caribbean nations have joined China's Belt and Road Initiative.
Now does this make sense why the Caribbean islands are feeling some type of way and they're starting to basically just go with the ban at this point and like bump this? You are going against our allies. So you got the Caribbean and you have the South America countries, you got Russia, you got China, you got Brazil, you got heavy hitters, and now you also have France speaking against America. Now, this is pretty long-winded, this broadcast. His particular broadcast, but I love him. Like, I love this type of work that he give. I can listen to him talk all day. So when I go into detail about the China, Russia, and now all of these other countries, our next live, we're going to get deep into this. And I'm going to leave his link for you guys. As you know, my name is Miss Grace, and I listen to everyone, even people who are a little bit weird, okay? Because at the end of this broadcast, I do have a little bit of conspiracy to share with you guys, but it is connected to here. It's connected to this, like some MK Ultra type stuff. So if you did not know what we was watching, that is Economic Warning. Subscribe to his page. He is so dope. I like it. I love it. I just had to share it with you, but he's a little long-winded in this particular broadcast. But I hope you guys got an idea of how everything is functioning together and how we know this is not about fentanyl distribution. It's not about cocoa distribution. It is not totally about oil. It's about controlling the pathways of where goods are distributed. It's about land as well. So this is brought to you by Times New World. How a tanker is about to cause a full-fledged Russia-NATO war. Now, someone in the audience brung up NATO, and we're going to hear a little bit about what they got to say. Thank you for being here with Miss Grace in the morning. Please hit the like button. I see you guys in the audience. I love your correspondence and the fact that we're putting some respect on this broadcast and each other. We're from all over the world figuring out what's going on here. So Russia's out there protecting a tanker. The tankers that Trump is stealing, the tankers that Trump is trying to steal, Russia has went out there to protect the tanker right now. And they're calling this a U.S. sanctioned tanker. One ship risks NATO's escalation. Look at this.
A single oil tanker is now at the center of one of the most dangerous geopolitical standoffs unfolding in international waters. Originally known as Bella 1, the vessel was sanctioned by the United States are carrying Venezuelan oil under a shadow network designed to evade global restrictions. As US forces moved to intercept it, the tanker did something extraordinary. It claimed Russian protection, instantly turning a sanctions chase into a potential great power confrontation. While being pursued across the North Atlantic, the crew painted a Russian flag on the hull, and the ship reappeared on Moscow's official registry.
Oh, snap. Do you hear what they did? Like they switched flags and they basically Russia like, all right, I'll put them under my attention. We registering them in anything and everything. And if America touch it, this is going to be a problem.
Under a new name, Marinera. Russia then issued a formal diplomatic warning, demanding Washington halt the pursuit. What was once a law enforcement operation was suddenly framed as a challenge to Russian sovereignty, even though the ship was operating thousands of kilometers away from Russian waters. The United States has not backed down. Surveillance aircraft, including P-8 maritime patrol planes flying out of the UK, have tracked the tanker's movements. Heavy US military assets, transport aircraft, refueling tankers, and special operations platforms have repositioned across British bases. The message is clear. Washington is preparing for a forced interdiction, even if the ship refuses to comply. Moscow insists the tanker is sailing legally under the Russian flag and accuses the West of violating freedom of navigation.
This is in the last 24 hours, y'all.
Ministry says US and NATO forces are harassing a Russian-registered vessel in international waters.
Y'all, wait, they did the switcheroo real quick. Let's see how Trump handles this. I'm telling you, I'm not big on, war powers and things like that, but something's telling me, I mean, the Holy Spirit is telling me that China and Russia ain't nothing to play with. Those people are not, they're even physically equipped for war better than us. I told you, each nation prepare their kids through school to learn how to fight, do combat, all types of shit. Excuse my language. Assemble guns. I know our heads is big here, but baby, we got a lot of big belly and laziness here. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. And this is to Mega.
Zone
Get your
is
boy.
precisely where the danger lies.
Please.
Any boarding could be portrayed by Russia as an act of aggression, not against a ship, but against the Russian state itself. This standoff comes in the shadow of a much larger escalation. After the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, US President Donald Trump announced a sweeping blockade on sanctioned Venezuelan oil. The tanker case is the first major test of that blockade, and Russia's attempt to shield the vessel is being watched closely by NATO and allies across Europe.
This is in the last 24
hours. If the US seizes the tanker, Russia claims international law has been shattered. If Washington backs off, Moscow proves that a Russian flag can neutralize American sanctions anywhere in the world.
Jesus Christ. Do you hear this? Do you hear this? They said if Russia wins, basically, this is like war games, which is going to lead us to the last part where we talk a little bit about Call of Duty and the connection of Call of Duty to Venezuela.
One ship, one boarding decision, and one miscalculation could now redraw the rules of power at sea, pushing the Russia-US standoff closer than ever to a direct NATO-level crisis.
All right, guys, if that ain't ruffle up your tail feathers just a little bit this morning. We're going to keep it moving. Thank you for being in the audience again. I just wanted to address someone was like, another liberal, commentary. Baby, I'm not Democrat, Republican, liberal, nothing. I am a separatist. Separate from the bullshit, and we align with what our Lord and Savior want us to do. Pick the right decision so we can survive as the human nation. I'm just being honest, okay? Now, let's go on into here. Colombian President Petro throws "Come Get Me," challenging Trump, mourning Maduro's capture. Okay. Not only Iran called out America like, bitch, I dare you to do that. I'm going to tell you now, Iran did the same thing. Here we go.
A new flashpoint is erupting in Latin America, and this time it's Colombia at the center of the storm. On Monday, Colombian President Gustavo Petro issued a bold and unprecedented challenge to U.S. President Donald Trump, responding directly to escalating American threats following Washington's controversial military operation in Venezuela.
Come get me. I'm waiting for you here.
The words mirroring a taunt once made by Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, now detained by U.S. forces after a dramatic weekend raid.
Wow.
But Petro's challenge marks something far more dangerous, a direct confrontation between Bogota and Washington.
Venga por mí. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States,
Aquí no esperan Miraflores.
and in support of a request from the Department of Justice,
No se tarden en llegar.
the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro.
¡Cobarde!
Nicolas Maduro had his chance until he didn't. He effed around and he found out.
This was one of the
Here we
most
go with our
stunning,
punchlines.
effective and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history.
Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters.
So this is how it's going to play out. We're just going to be going to countries and scooping up people's president, allegedly, on the basis of lies. Because y'all remember, this started off because of that fentanyl. And then they slipped in that cocoa when they actually got the president. Like, well, you know, it wasn't fentanyl. Well, you know, it was the cocoa, allegedly. And now we don't hear nothing about cocoa plants nowhere. We're not talking about drug lords. We're talking about oil. Come on, y'all. This is ridiculous. I mean, it's the lies for me. If you're going to go do this, go in it, like, just tell the truth. Listen, we need more power over the canals. We need power over transport. Come out and say it, Trump. Don't play no games, but you're looking stupid because you're lying. And that's why many people with common sense don't fall for this. We don't want to be part of this stuff at all.
Press conferences and, you know, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. Don't play games.
The police officer at the scene told me to never
Bear
sue the
with me.
driver
We're
who
watching
crashed into me
ET.
after my car accident.
We're watching ET, and
I
as you
took his
see,
advice.
that we get diverse news from all over the place. Thank you for being here. My
Don't
name is
play
Miss
games with this
Grace.
president.
I appreciate you guys being in the audience. We have a little bit more to show you guys, and then I'm going to get to y'all comments again.
Because it's not going to turn out well.
Tension surged after President Trump publicly criticized Colombia, accusing Petro of presiding over a country overrun by cocaine production.
No,
So is that what you would say?
I
that
don't.
We're in the business of nation building now?
Someone said, do I want Trump, Russia and China to take over? Hell no. That's why I don't go starting beefs. You don't go starting with people in their face. You don't, we just supposed to be minding our own business. Hell no. But I think they have the power and the means to come and do something to greatly harm us as a nation? Yes.
Of having countries around us that are viable and successful, and where the oil is allowed to freely come out because that's good. It gets the prices down.
You see?
That's good for our country. We have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor,
Hold on.
but it's close to a neighbor, and that's Venezuela. It's very sick.
Okay, so we're going to watch this along again, this ET clip from Economic Times with the other gentleman who I told you I like watching, okay, because he was on point. Now, this is again confirming the reason why. That was from Trump mouth. He said, the oil and the prices, and, basically now we're telling the truth. Trump angers Putin. Unseen footage of U.S. warship chasing Russian oil tanker near Venezuela. Okay, this is Times of India. We're not going to watch the full clip of this, but I'm telling you, you will get the international news. You get a different look.
Russian oil tanker has triggered a dangerous new standoff at sea. A U.S. Coast Guard cutter is chasing it across the Atlantic. Now, Russia has sent a submarine and naval escorts to protect it. No oil, no cargo, just power, pressure, and a floating provocation. This is not about a ship. This is about who controls the oceans. U.S. officials say Russia has dispatched a submarine and other naval assets to escort an oil tanker now at the center of rising U.S.-Russia tensions. The vessel, once called the Bella 1, has spent more than 2 weeks evading a U.S. crackdown on sanctioned oil tankers near Venezuela.
Listen,
The tanker
hold
failed
on,
to
y'all.
dock
I'm watching,
in
listening
Venezuela
to y'all
and never
comments.
loaded
Hold on.
oil. But U.S. authorities say it remains part of a global dark fleet used to ferry illicit crude across the world. Despite being empty, the U.S. Coast Guard has pursued the vessel into the Atlantic as part of efforts to choke off black market oil sales, including oil linked to Russia and Iran.
Hold on, y'all. So they chasing an empty ship right now.
In December, the tanker's crew repelled a U.S. attempt to board the ship before steaming into open waters. As the pursuit continued, the crew crudely painted a Russian flag onto the side of the vessel, renamed it the Marinera, and abruptly switched its registration to Russia.
That's what we were just watching. So that ship that they chasing is actually
Experts
empty.
say Moscow.
Hold on. Why is everything acting up on me, guys? My new laptop. I was hold on 1 second. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I got one more thing that I want to show you guys, but let's listen to this while I try to get this
Russia
off the
has
screen.
privately urged Washington to stop the pursuit, according to multiple U.S. officials. On Tuesday, the Russian Foreign Ministry said it was watching the situation.
Sorry, guys. It had me mute. It was really freezing just now. Hold on. And we've been doing good, too. This is, because last live, our video had paused because of the service. So I do apologize. We're getting to the end of this. So that's a little bit more details of what happened in the ocean. It's not funny, but it's funny. They're over there pulling some, like, Tiny Toon adventure type stuff, like switching names of ships and all types of stuff to, like, tap me in. Come on, we about to. This basically, Russia's not scared of America. Y'all can't see that the moves that they're making, that they don't give a damn and they waiting for you to touch me. That's what Russia seems that he's doing. Vladimir Putin has sent, again, naval ships. This is from the Sun. This is another channel. I think this is in not India, but in South Korea. I think this one is like out there by South Korea and Russia. This news broadcast. Okay, U.S. sends special forces across the UK to help hunt down the sanctioned vessels. So they keep calling these vessels sanctioned, and that's their reason why they can go after these vessels. Okay. So I just wanted you guys to see the news coming from different places. Y'all gonna get to see that, and we're about to get to our last thing. Let's get into some little conspiracy, because y'all know what I do on Wednesdays, or if you don't know, I give food away on Wednesdays. I do Atlanta food giveaway, and I gotta get cooking. It's almost 8 o'clock. I gotta put the stuff in everything. Okay, but that's why I came in early. But this is what I want to get to. We're gonna have to Oh, this is one more thing before we get to the conspiracy.
With the passing of each
They're
day,
saying that the case against Maduro is falling apart after Trump administration major confession. So let's just watch a little bit of this, and then we're going to get into that conspiracy about Call of Duty real quick. Shout out to everyone who's joining me this morning. I hope you're getting a comprehensive, non-biased breakdown. But I am a little biased. I'm a child of God. I just want us to all get along.
Donald Trump's fake charges against Nicolas Maduro are getting exposed. Not that anyone ever doubted that Trump had illegally invaded Venezuela on bogus charges. The charges that he made accusing Nicolas Maduro of running a non-existent drug cartel. It's now become official.
Now, mind you, he has to prove that in court, though. When he go to court, he has to prove this. He didn't prove it to us on, you know, the national news showing us any cold plans, none of that. None of that. But he's going to have to prove something.
Confirm that we were all right in our suspicion against the rogue regime of Donald Trump. Yesterday, these bunch of depraved thugs presented Maduro at a local court in New York before heaping more humiliation on him by parading him on the streets of the city.
This was yesterday. I hope they show him do a thumbs up. Maduro did a thumbs up. I didn't get the clip for you guys. Sorry. I've been busy. What is this? Is for TV. Why? This is dangerous. First and foremost, why are they riding with the door open like this? That's why I said this is a psychological operation, satire, or this shit is AI. This is ridiculous. What is this?
Look at these two houses.
Hold on, guys.
Same model,
Y'all know these
same
people
neighborhood,
have
but one costs
ads on their video.
$500,000 to buy.
What? This is all for propaganda. This is, look at that.
These thugs and human devils, to be precise, can go to any extent to humiliate fellow humans. We've seen their true colors in Gaza. So no, I wasn't surprised seeing this visual from New York. But what's astonishing is that the Trump administration has
don't you say that. Oh, we're going to look that up. You said Digital Warrior said, why was it all Cubans on Maduro's security detail, not Venezuelans? Let's think about that, because again, when they came and scooped up the Haitian president, it was Cuba who was playing the proxy for it. But I'm going to take a whole glass and shut up. Thank you for bringing up that point. I didn't notice that.
It's crime of using fake charges against Nicolas Maduro. Don't take my word for it. This is what pro-Israeli and therefore pro-Zionist American New York Times has reported. Read the headline by the New York Times. It says, Justice Department drops claim that Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles is an actual group.
Oh my
goodness.
Read the
details of this extraordinary confession, you will get
my goodness. Sorry, the Haitian came out.
A better understanding of the criminal action of these thugs. The New York Times reported that the new indictment of Maduro and others on charges related to drug trafficking omitted a crucial element of the original charges. The criminal organization that Maduro supposedly ran, according to Trump and his fellow criminals, was called Cartel de los Soles. But what is Cartel de los Soles? You would be shocked to learn that this organization never existed. It never existed. Trump and his criminal colleagues in the rogue regime of the US used this fictitious term to malign a head of state.
Oh my God. No. He could at least have common sense to use MS-13. What? Oh, this is getting deeper. Okay, guys. I'm going to have to wrap up this live. We're going to listen to a few more minutes to this, but oh my way. Come on.
Original indictment filed against Maduro in March 2020 in the Southern District of New York has said that the kidnapped Venezuelan president was the head of Cartel de los Soles, which according to the US claim was a drug trafficking organization comprised of high-ranking officials that operated between 1999 and 2020. But as it emerged, Cartel de los Soles isn't a real organization at all.
All right, we're going to stop right there because we're going to deep dive more into that particular information because it's the lies for me. He could at least use MS-13. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, I hope they ain't backtracking and footing. I told you it wasn't about the drugs now. I said, yo, it got to be about oil or something, but it's deeper than that. It's about seizing the land and the canals. Now, let's finish off with a little bit of conspiracy. Now, this gentleman, I don't commit to everything that he says. Sometimes he gets really out of pocket, and there's no disrespect to him. We are all
I don't do schedules
different.
Or timesheets manual.
Dang, because I have a few more minutes too. And I have one more clip about NATO nations break from USA. Let's watch this before we get into that Call of Duty thing. I have one more thing to show y'all. There we go. And these be long-winded too, guys, but I'll be trying to give y'all just the good part of it.
The Maduro regime because we believe the rules
this is about NATO.
And furthermore, this was also confirmed by the United Nations in the report on the most recent elections.
So this title says NATO nation breaks from U.S. over Maduro kidnapping.
Presidential elections in Venezuela. Secondly, illegitimacy cannot be answered with illegality under international law, which is what has happened in recent days.
Exactly.
In Caracas, we find ourselves at a decisive moment for European security, and therefore also for the stability of the rules-based international order. A moment of uncertainty, without a doubt.
Oh, no, yeah.
In recent days and hours, the media have been reporting on some aspects of this uncertainty in the international order, but it is also a moment of hope, a moment of opportunity. And that is also what I would like to emphasize today in this appearance.
Eric, I'm with you.
Why? For the first time in a long while, since Putin's invasion of Ukraine began 4 years ago, for the first time, a security framework is beginning to take shape. A security framework that could eventually allow the war to end and therefore achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. It is true that we are close to that agreement, as I mentioned earlier, within the coalition of volunteers, the United States, the European countries, and also Ukraine, while logically waiting for that proposal to materialize, to take shape, and therefore to later be debated and eventually agreed upon with Russia as well in order to achieve that peace. But yes, I would like to highlight 3 fundamental aspects. These have been discussed today, and I believe we have been able to make substantial progress on them. The first of these is that at the moment, and I want to emphasize this, at the moment that a ceasefire is agreed upon.
Oh my God.
And therefore, when a lasting peace truly begins, and the devastating war between Russia and Ukraine finally comes to a complete and definitive end, a comprehensive framework will certainly have to be carefully established for the future of.
This is all talk when it comes to the Ukraine and Russia thing, because there's no ceasefire. We're going to watch a little bit more of this on our next broadcast, because we have to figure out how all of these countries are being connected and what's the plan. Because what I'm hearing here is 10 kings. Like they're absorbing nations who are not strong, and it may lead us with the 10 king theory. Y'all know about that? A little bit of conspiracy and biblical. We'll talk about it. But I want to close off with this one because this one was good, and I only got like 10% on my battery. And I really want to show you guys this. The connections between Call of Duty and the President Maduro. Did y'all know President Maduro sued the company who made Call of Duty, basically saying that it was promoting violence, promoting war and killing and things like that? And then that they have a portion on Call of Duty that actually shows the president of Venezuela being taken away. Now, shout out to A Call for the Uprising. This is the channel. They deal with a lot of deep conspiracies, and I'm not totally aligned with what he's saying, but this one was some good information.
YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
This is it.
To today's show, I often talk about predictive programming on this channel to show you how the governments of the world show you these events, foreshadowing of future events in fictional movies, television shows, books, and yes, video games to psychologically condition the public. They do this because by familiarizing people with these things that are to come, the audience becomes more accepting with these events when they actually happen. It is also a form of... So, that being said, when we look at what's gone on in Venezuela, we continue to see stories of gunshots and anti-aircraft fire seen over Caracas as, of course, this facade of a story where we're supposed to...
Look, see, that's the thumbs up. My man smiling. This is like weird. You know, let's just watch.
That has a large military, that has many militias, and we just were able to so easily grab the president of this country and his wife overnight. And then, of course, we get all of these wonderful images of him smiling ear to ear, because that's how you would look if you were taken out of your bed in the middle of the night by the government of another country. This has never happened before, and it'll likely not happen again. Or will it? Is this the new precedent that they're setting for the United States to start taking countries like Greenland over? Because, of course, we know the plan with the Club of Rome and the 10 kingdoms in the United States to merge Canada,
look,
US,
they got fitting
and
clothes for him and everything. He ain't in no jail suit. People, he got on.
1 So we saw all the ridiculous photos, but I want to talk about the predictive programming because I've covered Call of Duty in the past. It's probably the most popular, other than Grand Theft Auto, one of those popular games out there, gaming series or gaming franchises, I should say. But obviously, I don't play video games. I don't know much about these games, but I have covered Call of Duty in the past. You may remember Black Ops 6, The Truth Lies, where they showed so much stuff with secret societies, Freemasonry, the Illuminati, in the video game trailers, at least, for Black Ops 6 that came out, including this image, The Truth Lies, where they blindfold the presidents and then have the all-seeing eye symbolism over Abraham Lincoln. So the reason I'm covering this is because the plot for one of the Call of Duty games was exactly what just occurred in Venezuela. And the game was released in the year 2013, right around the time that Maduro became the leader of Venezuela, became the elected or so-called elected president. So in 2013, Call of Duty Ghosts, the 10th installment of the first-person shooter game, was released. The story presented the Federation, a fictional alliance of South American countries, whose capital was Caracas, as a military superpower that becomes the main enemy of the U.S. At the time, the narrative choice sparked considerable controversy in Venezuela, where the newly elected president, Nicolas Maduro, considered that the game was associating his country with a global military threat and symbolically positioning it as an antagonist. Clearly, the game remains relevant.
Now, I'm highlighting this because this falls under the predictive program, the PSYOPs type of thing I'm talking about. But this is factual that he filed a lawsuit against the game of Call of Duty for portraying him, his nation like this, and perpetuating war games and psychologically affecting our kids. Basically, you know right now that it's so many lawsuits against, I didn't say Call of Duty, but Facebook, Snapchat, IG, for its known involvement in the psychological destruction of our kids. And I'm saying it in my way. There are active lawsuits, and we're going to go over that. Now they're saying that these games and stuff has caused psychosis in our kids. Our kids are numb as all hell. Something wrong with the generation, but we gonna try to fix it. But this is what's going on, y'all. So the people who knew that something was wrong with AI and the gaming and they was doing something to your kids, bam, it's happening now. But this was the connection of Venezuela to the Call of Duty.
Today, due to its storyline and its connection to recent world events. In fact, Nicolas Maduro actually commented on that specific video game as well as some of the other Call of Duty games, accusing them of promoting violence, being a tool of American imperialism, and encouraging massacres, with his government even initiating legal action against Activision, alleging the games glorified terrorism and imperialist aggression against Venezuela and other nations. So his regime in Venezuela actually brought about a lawsuit against Activision, who is responsible for this series. And I'll play for you a clip from the game so you can see the direct correlation between everything that just happened on the news, which we know is a simulation, and the actual video game, including the raid in the night.
Information educational purposes only. I don't totally agree with his commentary. I do not believe that the events that took place out there in Venezuela was a simulation, but I do believe that it was an operation. Okay, and I do believe people got hurt, and this is how they bring things to life and do psychological, warfare on us. But he says that, this was a simulation. When you say simulation, it's like it didn't happen. It's like a figment of your imagination. But I wanted to hone in on the fact that there was a lawsuit that was brought to us, American company from Maduro years ago, highlighting something similar that just happened. Okay, like, for real.
Where they go to capture the president of Venezuela. But here were some of the key criticisms from Maduro. Maduro claimed the game spread message of hate, terrorism, and war, serving as a vehicle for U.S. psychological warfare against other countries, especially Venezuela. It glorified violence, especially the war zone game. And then again, in 2023, Venezuela Attorney General Tariq William Saab announced a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard demanding compensation for damages and removal of allegedly violent and imperialist content. And they call it the game of death, Call of Duty, around Venezuela, because it is accused of influencing young people to become violent and of promoting aggression. So here is a clip from the video game so you could see
Look at that.
for yourself.
It was 12 years ago when the Federation's military threatened all of South America. Their leader, General Almagro, demanded all U.S.-born citizens be imprisoned or executed.
No, this is not dumb. This is literally showing predictive programming. This was what your kids and my kids was watching and playing, and we didn't even know about it. And now me and you are watching this happen in real time. Is this not predictive programming? This is literally an example of predictive programming. This was out years ago, and this is exactly what's happening now. This is not stupid. This is facts, and we have to pay attention to what's going on.
It was Rourke who convinced Washington to let the ghosts solve the problem. The U.S. sent invasion force to destroy the Federation. Rourke led us to eliminate Almagro. But Rourke became obsessed with it. He talked of the man as if he were a bounty. It was clear he would stop at nothing to claim that prize.
All right, so I'm gonna leave that right there. I'm gonna leave his video for you guys. That is a call for uprising. Again, I don't subscribe to everything that he says because he goes to the left a little bit, but he do be providing the facts where it comes to the paperwork, the stories, but he interpreted it in his own ways, and he like, this shit is satire. I think it's real and it's happening, but they predictively program us. Just like when you watch movies and things like that, and just about the aliens and all that stuff, and you know how we used to watch the Flintstones and the Jetsons, especially the Jetsons. The Jetsons prepared us to start kind of accept certain things to make it a social norm when they showed us, so it won't blow our minds. So these are just examples of predictive programming, and that is the proof. So with that goes to say, I want to say thank you for being here with Miss Grace. Guys, please check out the video that I did in the middle of the night. I am working to get myself in the algorithm. I have been severely suppressed. You guys got the notification, but when I stream on my streaming equipment, notifications don't go out. Last night, I read a case from the Epstein files that highlights a young art student being lured by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell from her art camp and abused for years. So go read that story. I mean, go listen to that broadcast I did last night. We'll be doing it every Tuesday into Wednesday. We will be reading one case off of the Epstein files, because all of this that's happening right now is literally happening so we won't pay attention to the Epstein files. But baby, I'm telling on everyone. So our goal with that series is to highlight the others, the people who walk among us that basically helped him in this network of trafficking. But guess what? It's not a network of people being arrested. So go check that out. Hit the like button. I want to say thank you for being here with Grace. And if you believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, no matter where you at, we're taking over the world. This is what he's doing. He's wiping out the devils, and he's bringing us in for the new world. Okay? Let's go. Wait. There you go. Press play. There we go. Let's get plugged in. See you guys at 3:30 for our food giveaway, y'all. We feeding the people.